times x plus 2 times x minus 4. Notice, now I have an a that I don't know, I have x that I don't know, and I have y that I don't know. I can't solve that equation. But now that I have a third point, this 1 is going to become the x, this 6 is going to become the y. That's where they get this equation from. And once again, what are you going to do with this equation? You're going to solve it. So we're going to start with simplifying, and then we're going to solve. Notice 1 minus negative 2 is 1 plus 2. And what's 1 plus 2? 3. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. And so notice I'm still simplifying. 3 times negative 3. So I've got negative 9a. And then we do want to note, because they don't show this step here, I want to solve for a. What do I need to do to solve for a? Divide by negative 9. Okay? Now we'll point this out, and I know some of y'all will think I'm crazy, because y'all usually do, but it's okay. You can show division by negative 9, but you will pretty much never see me do that. Instead, because it helps you understand exponential functions better, I'm going to use 1 divided by negative 9. Okay? Does anyone know the name between the relationship between negative 9 and 1 divided by negative 9? No. Say it louder. Those are called reciprocals. Okay? The negative 9 is always understood to be divided by 1. When you flip the fraction like that, it creates what's called a reciprocal, and reciprocals always create the number 1. So I'm always going to use the reciprocal, and it ties into, y'all are even saying divided by. Remember with the exponential, we don't want to what we're dividing by, we want what we're multiplying by. And so I am still multiplying, but showing the same idea of 1 divided by negative 9. So that creates a 1. So I have a on the right hand side, but I got to change the left hand side by the same amount. So negative 2/3. Now I have my a, and I started here with that equation, so I'm going to substitute this in for a. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, that's how they got this equation, right? A times x minus r1 times x minus r2. We're given roots, so we use factored form. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and tell you, just looking at where we are right now, the understanding check will be at the end of class tomorrow, because we will need to practice with some of these things before we do the understanding check, but we do need to, we have 15 minutes, we need to get through this. Please note on number 2, listen very carefully on this, you are not writing equations for this number 2. You're only doing what?
Determine the form of quadratic function would be most efficient to write the function using the
So the options are standard form, factored form, vertex form, and none. So work within your small groups. Let's identify which forms we might be able to use. You don't have to get these right. We'll talk about them afterwards, but have some ideas down and we'll discuss. No more than 5 minutes to get this problem done.
Alright,
I'll show it at the end of class. Do this right now.
what was the first one you said? 5.
Okay. The minimum or minimum is the lowest. So we have
You know what else gives you 11%?
what?
2.
Right. What else is it? So this one. The minimum.
Well, yes, minimum is low, but
Why
you're missing the point of this question. What are you trying to figure out? Which form is right? If you have the minimum, what's another name for that point? The vertex, so which form? So it doesn't matter about the concavity. I'm just asking which form we should use. Okay, we have a vertex. So it's the new vertex form. Does that make sense?
What would that be?
So identify the different features.
Because it gave you 2 exact.
You would be factored form. Talk about that with your groups, or with your group first.
Where? If you did this one, hey,
Number 1 is
you have well, I mean, why is it? Okay, let's see that. Wait,
Yeah, I don't.
it don't matter. We gave
I
it
know,
like-
it's fact.
Minimum would also be the vertex?
Because we see the y, the x-intercepts, and the random point.
Why on A are y'all thinking standard form?
Because
vertex form doesn't have.
that's most likely.
Okay, but, so you've already brought up the vertex, right?
Already gives you the.
Why are you talking about the vertex?
E equal x-intercept.
I can't see it. I've already told it that. Standard form is not to see a y.
Right, but what's if you have a minimum of a parabola, what else could that be?
Yeah.
So no exceptions.
The minimum would be the vertex, right?
If you think D is standard.
Could the y-intercept be the second point that you use, like here, to get the vertex point?
That is
C is standard.
Because B gives you.
Yeah, I'll point this out. Have we done a worked example where we start with standard?
This is giving us points.
If we have a vertex, though, we want to use vertex.
I
Okay.
don't know. I'm gonna say standard, but I still feel like I'm wrong.
We don't have any answers down yet.
We trying to figure out what the question asking us to do.
I literally told y'all that you have to identify which form it would be most efficient to write the function in.
because it gives you.
So,
the height
would it be
of
more,
the
when you look at A, and you have a minimum point and a y-intercept, which form should you start with? Okay, y standard form.
So vertex
No,
standard.
I know what I meant.
What?
Or is that my fault that I did that? Let's see.
I don't know, you said, yeah, you said C.
Okay, but what do you see there that makes you think that?
Right.
I don't know.
So one out of 3 chance.
Especially you. What you mean by that?
I think you could put 2 points by that.
She chose violence today.
Okay, but like, look at what's given there. You're given a minimum point and a y-intercept. Y factor. Vertex. To use factored form, you need what? X-intercepts or roots, right? We don't have them. Do we have a vertex to be able to use the vertex form? That's what the minimum form is, right?
Oh, that's what makes so much more
Thank you. Thank you. Alright, so I want to go ahead and address a common misconception on part A right away, because I heard a couple people talk about this. A does have the y-intercept, right? So that might make you think about which form.
Standard.
Standard is what I have with the y-intercept, but I want to point out the only thing that tells me is that C is 15. I would still have to figure out A and B. I don't want 2 unknowns, I just want 1. But that minimum would also be the what?
Vertex.
The vertex. If I have a vertex, what form could I use? Vertex form.
Oh.
And this y-intercept would just be a second point, just like we had in that previous worked example, so I can figure out what A is. So vertex form. Okay, what about B?
Factored.
Why factored?
Because it gives you two x-intercepts.
There we go, that's evidence. We don't just say factored, we have factored form because I have 2 x-intercepts. We have factored form here for those roots.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't know Susie.
Huh? Remember, x-intercepts are R1, comma 0.
No, I'm talking about the next one.
Oh, this one here?
Y'all were.
Yeah, same. Hey, do I have a vertex with C?
Maybe.
Maybe, but do we know? No. Do we have roots for C?
Probably
Yeah, wait.
not.
Wait.
No.
None.
So I'll go ahead and tell you this. You could do standard form here. I'm not going to make you do that.
So it's none.
So I'll go ahead and tell you.
Absolutely.
So I'll show you, or if you look in the next lesson, there is work on how to get standard form for 3 points. It's not a focus for this class. It's not in our standards. We're not going to worry about it.
Wait, why is it 9?
So we don't have a vertex or we don't have a vertex or x-intercepts, so we're not going to do it. In order to use vertex form, we need a what? Vertex, we don't have that. In order to do factored form, I need what?
X-intercept.
X-intercepts, I don't have that, so I'm not going to do it. Does that make sense? Okay. What about the next one?
Standard. We got a standard.
Okay? So I will say this. You could do standard here. You actually cannot do standard for the next one.
So none.
Look at the y values. What are all the y values?
3.
So the equation would be y equals 3. It's not quadratic.
What?
Look at all 3 points. What is the y for all 3 points? 3. So that would literally be an equation y equals 3. That's it. That is not a quadratic.
Is B factored because of the fact that the y-intercept 0?
B?
There is no y-intercept.
There is no y-intercept. That's what I'm saying.
B has x-intercepts. It has
Yeah,
roots.
that's what I'm asking. Like, there's no y-intercept.
No, but factored form doesn't talk about y-intercepts.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking if that's why it's factored. It's
It's
factored.
No, it's factored because we have x-intercepts.
That's.
Factored form
What y'all talking about?
because it has x-intercepts. Don't worry about it. All right. E. Which one are we going to use?
Factored.
Factored.
form.
We've got x-intercepts again. And F.
Factored.
Factored. We've got roots or x-intercepts again.
Yeah, let's go.
What about the last one?
Vertex.
Why vertex?
Because I said so.
Yup, what she said. Yup.
Yep.
Yep.
And then the
Yep.
threes.
It's got a maximum. So I'm going to use vertex.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
When they talk about it, she's like, oh, I'm not too far away. We done?
Like, I would say 60.
I don't know what kind of question you brought up. Okay.
Go ahead, boy.
We got time to answer. Don't worry about it.
How do you know?
I'll put it over the end of class. Make sure you answer this, yes. What?
I could read. My brain don't process how big.
You need a card? You said this is for homework?
Nope. Trust me, I have a plan already before we come into class. I know what I'm doing. All right. So, excuse me, I am talking. What I just passed out and what Alicia's passing out right now is the practice that we're going to have with these different quadratics, forms and equations, things like that. So, let's look at the one titled Writing Quadratic Equations first.
Do I need the book anymore?
Well, the book might have notes that might be helpful. Okay, so the writing quadratic equations first, mostly because this is one that we can easily do right now. Use the given information to determine the most efficient form you could use to write the quadratic function. All right, write standard form, factored form, or vertex form, or even none. So let's work on knocking out these four quickly. So this is the one that's titled Writing Quadratic Equations.
We don't use it as a group.
Yeah.
You can.
Can we do it by ourselves?
You can.
That's crazy.
That doesn't help you on active collaboration, but you can.
I'll take them boys.
I need the points. Okay. No, you're just identifying which form you're going to use.
Dang it. Dang it. Okay, so for the first one. So, okay. You were saying, guess what we're doing?
It gives you a vertex.
What do you think?
We just did 3 items in this. What was just doing?
Well, I see maximum point.
Yeah.
3 and then so many would want to hang out.
But if you want to do anything at all,
What he said.
Funny. Yes.
Okay? We've got 90 seconds. Number one. What do we see there? But I also see an x-intercept.
I don't see no Asian stuff.
I do.
I see a vertex though.
I see an x-intercept.
So what does that make it?
It's the vertex though. That vertex. Oh, that has to be a vertex.
Hey, wait a minute.
Take me on my right now. Take me on my
Does no one else see the x-intercept for
I
number
see
one?
that.
So could I use factored form for number one?
So we can put both.
Well, but you have to find R2.
Oh wait, to use factored form I need two x-intercepts, don't I? Can I use factored
No,
form?
no, can't. Gotta find the other one.
Guys, hey, listen, excuse me. Hey, pause and listen. Y'all are talking all over each other and over me, which is why you're missing the point of this. The point is exactly what Hudson just said. I don't have a second root, so could I use factored form here? No.
It's just concave then.
I'm done with that.
Yeah. I can only use vertex form based on what's there. Now I will say, I could find the other root because I know of symmetry, so the other root would be 5, 0. But as it is, vertex form would be the most efficient. Number two? Number two would be factored form. I've got two roots. Number three? Okay. Now, it could be standard, but I'm not going to ask you to do that. Number four? Vertex. We're going to keep writing and practicing tomorrow before we have the understanding check. I definitely feel like there's been some good learning today, but what are all of you?
Capable boys!
Okay. For the sake of time, for your sake, I'm going to move this to Friday.
Yes, sir.
Now, the lesson 3 assignment is due tomorrow.
What time?
Woohoo! I would take a picture before you get out of here.